Okay, I've been thinking about this video all day. As you are aware, if you follow the channel, I'm a massive hockey fan. And when I say hockey, I mean ice hockey. And of course, as you can see, I'm wearing some NHL gear. But we're looking at the career of Maxim Birbraer, who was drafted 67th overall in 2000 by the New Jersey Devils. He never actually got to play in the NHL, but he was the first Israeli to be drafted at the NHL draft, and to this date, the only Israeli to have been drafted. He's had a very lengthy career, as you can see. He never actually made it to the NHL level, but he played the first half of his career up until 2006 in North America, and then after 2006 till present day, he spent it in Europe, predominantly in the UK. So he's drafted by the Devils 67th overall in the rather weak 2000 entry draft. 99-2000 were two really poor entry draft years. They were very low in quality. We're about to find out with Max here that he was very highly thought of as a junior. Didn't transpire at senior level, especially on North American ice surface. In Europe, his numbers are better. Partly ice surface is different, and he was starting to play at a lower professional level. But he had a pretty solid European career, but in North America, it didn't really work out. But let's have a look. So he's drafted 67th overall in 2000 by the Devils. And he's put it through into their affiliate in the AHL in the Albany River Rats. So they obviously want to get him to the NHL level at this point. He plays 50 games in 2000-2001, only scores 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points, 24 penalty minutes. This isn't going to be an ongoing theme, he racks up a lot of penalty minutes in his career. We'll get to how many at the end. It's actually quite a surprising amount. 2001-2002, he plays only 40 games, 6 goals, 7 assists, again 13 points, 22 penalty minutes. So, you know, he's a pretty physical shutdown forward. That's pretty much what his role is. He's a third, fourth liner, and he's a big physical presence. He's there to rough it up a little bit. That's basically his role. That's pretty much what he ended up becoming. 2000-2003, he played 57 games, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points, but he managed to rack up 42 penalty minutes, which is, it's going to be an ongoing theme, as I say. That summer, his rights transferred over, and he ends up at the San Antonio Rampage, also in the AHL. He only manages to play 17 games in 2003-2004, 2 assists, 2 points, 6 penalty minutes before he ends up in the Central Hockey League with the Laredo Bucks for the rest of the 2003-2004 season, where he plays 44 games, 16 goals, 14 assists, 30 points, but 37 penalty minutes. But he also, for the first time, makes a playoff post-season. Now, the North American playoffs go on for longer, and the seasons are generally longer than Europe. So at this point, he's actually not played a full season in North America at senior level. But in the playoffs, he plays 14 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, but 33 penalty minutes. Yeah, he's a big energy guy. He's a big shutdown forward, two-way forward, but he's basically, I wouldn't say goon or enforcer, but he will drop the gloves, he will fight, he will shut down the opposition's offence, and 33 penalty minutes in 14 games, that's in the playoffs is a lot. Then we have the lockout, the 2004-2005 lockout, and he actually drops down to the ECHL. So he's been on a two-way contract here. He's dropped down to the ECHL because a lot of NHL players go to the AHL to play. And he plays the entire season with the San Diego Gulls, 69 games, 19 goals, 30 assists. So he's starting to actually now produce a bit more. They may have put him into the affiliate too high, so he might have been actually pushed into the AHL too quickly, not allowed enough time to develop at the lower level. In the ECHL, he actually is pretty decent as a depth guy. 19 goals, as I say, 30 assists, 49 points. That's his highest points total in a regular season to date, and 63 penalty minutes. So he's a pretty solid two-way forward at this point. 2005-2006, he ends up at Long Beach Ice Dogs, also in the East Coast Hockey League, and he only manages to play 13 games. Injuries. So that's 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points, 10 penalty minutes. That's his North American career over. 2006, he comes over to the UK and joins the Cardiff Devils. So if you are a Cardiff Devils fan, you may remember him. He had 2 spells with Cardiff. So 2006-2007, his first season, he pretty much plays a full season. The European season is a lot shorter. It's about 20, 30 games shorter than the North American season. So he plays 52 games. He gets 29 goals, 33 assists, 62 points, his highest points total to date. He gets 105 penalty minutes, however. So while he's playing really well and his point totals are up, his penalty minutes go over through the roof. And they're not the highest. They will get higher. He also manages to play in 4 playoff games. He gets 2 assists. So not overly successful in the playoffs this time round, but a pretty decent regular season. He's now playing at a level which is similar to the ECHL, which is what the Elite League is compared to. It's compared to the East Coast Hockey League in quality level, and it has been since inception. And given a long run in a team, he will produce points. He's proved it with the San Diego Gulls, and he proves it with the Devils. 2007-2008. Second season, 54 games played, 20 goals, 37 assists, 57 points, and still 75 penalty minutes. This is a regular theme. He'll get more penalty minutes than points in many seasons. Back in the playoffs, he scores 3 goals in 3 games, 3 points. Again, doesn't really get to the heights he wants with goals in the playoffs, but he's a depth guy. He then goes over to Russia. Technically Kazakhstan, the land of his birth, where he plays for Kazank Torpedo in the second tier for 34 games. He gets 5 points, 15 assists, 5 goals, 15 assists, 20 points, should I say. 32 penalty minutes. Now, the Russian game is more skill-based. He then ends up in that same season going to the German second tier with Heilbronner Falcon. 16 games played, 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points, 4 penalty minutes. He goes to playoffs and gets 3 assists and 8 penalty minutes in 6 games. And that is his spell in Eastern Europe and Central Europe over, and he's back in the UK for the rest of his career. He will then spend the next 5 seasons with Cardiff, 2 with Telford, and 3 with Swindon before retiring. Literally yesterday. So 2009-2010, he's back in Cardiff, plays a full season, 54 games. He gets 22 goals, 36 assists, 58 points. So he's still putting up some good point totals. 58 penalty minutes. He plays 4 games in the playoffs that year. 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. He's found a home. He's moved around a lot. He's been a journeyman for a lot of his career. Apart from his early spell with Albany River Rats, he has been a journeyman. Brief spell with Cardiff for 2 years, but he's moved from team to team. Cardiff seems to be a place where he can really settle in and really be a useful depth guy. 2010-2011, again 54 games played. His goal totals go up. 26 goals, 42 assists, 68 points. That is his highest points total in his career. 68 points. So he's that kind of depth guy who can chip in, third, fourth liner, chip in and score clutch goals. 44 penalty minutes. He plays 4 games in the playoffs, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, 6 penalty minutes. So the playoffs, he's also racking up the penalty minutes as well. 2011-2012, I think injuries played a part this season. He only plays 24 games. He gets 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points. So now he's a point per game guy, if not more. So had he been fit, he might have had a really breakout season that year. 43 penalty minutes. So he's the physical players having an effect in his career. He's missing a lot of game time. Misses the playoffs that year as well. Cardiff have an off season. 2012-2013, he plays 31 games. He gets 16 goals, 13 assists, 29 points, 18 penalty minutes, 4 games in the playoffs, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points, 8 penalty minutes. He plays a physical game. 2013-2014, his last season in South Wales, he plays 52 games. He gets 16 goals, 24 assists for 40 points, 35 penalty minutes, no playoffs, and that is his Elite League career in the UK over. And he drops down to the Tier 2, which is still a professional league at the time, into the EPIHL, which is now the National League, so the second tier of British ice hockey with the Telford Tigers. And the Telford Tigers at this point are a very, very good team at their level. In 2014-2015, the first season I get to see Max play, because my team, the Birbraer Bees, play at this level. He played 48 games, which is nearly a full season. He got 21 goals, 33 assists for 54 points, and he gets 46 penalty minutes. So he also plays 3 games in the playoffs, 1 goal. That's it. 2015-2016, 51 games played, 26 goals, 34 assists for 60 points. That's one of his highest point totals. He's had a pretty solid season there. But he gets 123 penalty minutes because he likes fighting a lot. Yeah, he will fight. It's only 3 seasons he gets over 100 points in 100 minutes in penalties. But I've seen him fight. He's a big physical guy. He gets 2 games played in the playoffs, just the 1 goal. So 1 point in the playoffs there. He then makes a trade. He finishes with Telford. They don't re-sign him for a 3rd season. He ends up in Swindon, which is not too far from me down the M4. for the 2016-2017 season, and Swindon also are a pretty good side as well at this point. He plays 50 games for Swindon in 2016-2017, 16 goals, 31 assists, 47 points, 126 penalty minutes. So his penalty minutes, that's the highest he will get in his career, is 126 penalty minutes in a regular season. He plays 6 games in the playoffs. He scores 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points, 2 penalty minutes. 2017-2018, he plays 31 games, 15 goals, 38 assists, 53 points, 44 penalty minutes. I think the physical play is starting to wear him down because he doesn't play a full season. He plays 4 games in the playoffs, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points, 2 penalty minutes. And this final season, the last season of his career, which he had a pretty decent send-off, 42 games played, 12 goals, 55 assists. So he really... pinging passes to his teammates, 67 points, his second highest points total in his career, and he gets exactly 67 penalty minutes. He plays 3 games in the playoffs this year, just gone. He gets 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and that is the last games he will play. So, since being drafted in 2000, we're not including international games for Israel. He's played 883 games since 2000. He scored 297 goals, 484 assists, 781 points, 1,024 penalty minutes. This guy is a journeyman who found a home in British ice hockey. A journeyman for the most of his career. It didn't really work out in the AHL. Never made it to the NHL. Had some decent numbers in the ECHL. Comes over to the UK, and then he's a pretty solid pickup by the Cardiff Devils, and is actually a very productive pickup by the Cardiff Devils. He actually is a good depth guy to have. Same with Telford, same with Swindon, where he drops down to the second tier towards the end of his career. He's still a solid veteran player, and he's part of the reason why British ice hockey has improved so much, is having these veteran players coming over from the US who've played that tough kind of game has helped bring the British game on. His playoff totals, he played 57 playoff games, 25 goals, 26 assists, 51 points, 59 penalty minutes, and that is his career in a nutshell. But this is a story to tell itself. Just because you're drafted in the first, second round doesn't necessarily mean, or the third round in his case, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to break into the NHL. Had Maxim Birbraer been drafted today, however, 67th overall, absolutely he would play some NHL games. The quality level has improved so much. But the time he was drafted, scouting was well off. So many players were overrated and just failed to reach the heights that were expected of them. The Sedin twins, notwithstanding, the 99-2000 draft classes were really, really low in quality, like really, really poor. But he's, got his place in hockey history as the first Israeli national to be drafted by the NHL. It's a pity it didn't work out in the AHL level, but that's possibly down to the New Jersey Devils trying to, rush him through too soon. Given time in the ECHL, he's a pretty solid player, especially with the San Diego Gulls. But I believe injuries affected him in 2005, 2006, and he only played a handful of games. But in a comparative league similar to level with the ECHL and the Elite League, he was pretty solid throughout his Cardiff Devils career in both spells, and even at the second tier level in the UK, again very solid, metronomic, and just regular, just chip depth guy and depth scoring, and occasionally he could have some good seasons. I mean, the penalty minutes, he was a physical guy. You always need that kind of sandpaper grit, and the British game especially suited how he played, because it's a very physical style of play. But just because someone is drafted reasonably highly in a draft year doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make it into the NHL. But there's some good hockey outside the NHL as well, and I think a lot of people forget that. And yeah, bit of a journeyman for half his career. In the second half of his career, a pretty solid overseas player here in the UK, and he's done great service to Swindon, Telford, Cardiff, and he will be fondly remembered. Even though I don't support the teams he plays for, I've seen him play for 5 seasons, and I've been very, very impressed with his leadership qualities. The veteran presence he has around some of the younger players, especially in developmental leagues like the EPIHL, NIHL over here in the UK. A lot of younger players who are teenagers, early 20s, having that veteran presence. He's a teacher on the ice. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets involved in coaching at some point. because seeing him play and how he communicates with his teammates, he's very vocal player, and his numbers bear it out. He's a tough guy. They're very few and far to find. Few and far between. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your comments below if you are a fan of any of the teams he has played for. I would like to hear from you, and I'll have some more videos for you very soon.